girls. Welcome to Home Studio Q&A for yet another week here on Studio Live today. My name is Pete Johns, and this is our show where I attempt to answer your questions about home and mobile recording. If you're new to the channel and you're watching here on the video on YouTube or Facebook, do all the liking and the subscribing and the following and all those fun things. And if you know someone who is also creating music who could benefit from this show, then please share this with them, because we're here every week and we're answering questions, and it doesn't matter what the questions are. There are no stupid questions. There may be some stupid answers, but I make no promises about that. And the beautiful part about it, as I say most weeks, is that this is not just me answering questions. We've got a whole community of recording enthusiasts here at Studio Live today. So if I don't know the answer, there's a good chance that someone else here in the Studio Live Today community will, which makes my job easier because I don't know everything. I'm the first to admit that I don't know everything. This is an ongoing, lifelong learning journey that we're all on here together in this home recording caper. But we're going to crack on. My topic of the week this week is about releasing your music, sharing your music, whatever you want to call it. My mantra here on the show is create, record, release. And that release part is a third of it. And it's probably about a third of the importance. People think, I've written a song, I've recorded a song, and then they sort of go back and they write another song, or they don't even finish the recording. My goal here is to encourage folks to do the full 3-part process. Create the song, then record the song, and then release the song. Now, releasing doesn't have to be releasing it to Spotify and iTunes and Apple Music. Releasing can be sharing it in a forum. It can be uploading it to a group. It could be playing it to your nan. I don't really care what your sharing is. The reason I say share, though, and that eventually you need to get to sharing, is that before I started sharing music and releasing my music, I wasn't getting better. I mean, I probably was getting better, but I was only knowing my own opinion and my own feedback. I wasn't sharing my music, therefore I wasn't getting feedback and valuable feedback from other people. So I used to do a few things. I used to mix my vocals way too loud, and once I started sharing my music with a bunch of folks online, folks that I trust, then I started getting feedback saying, Pete, you should turn your vocals down a little bit, buddy, because they're cutting through the mix way too much. So they're the sort of things that you can actually find out. You can only find those out if you share or release your music. So what are some tips around sharing your music? Well, number one, you don't have to spend a fortune on this stuff. It can be 100% free. If you're looking for free options, SoundCloud is awesome. I do a weekly show called Your Music Live, and a bunch of folks share their music on SoundCloud. It's a really easy platform, regardless of how you're creating your music in GarageBand or on your Mac or your PC or whatever. You can just upload your file as a WAV file, as an MP3 file if you want to, and then it's available for folks to view. You get a nice background image with your album artwork, and then you get a nice little waveform there, and folks can like and follow and comment, and it's all contained in the SoundCloud platform. That's a great option. If you want to create a video out of your song, YouTube, also free, also a great option. They're the two things that I would go to first. Then you can start looking at distributors. And the free ones, there's a few around there. The one that I've used for free that I like is called Amuse. It does take a while to release. It's about a 30-day turnaround to release your music, but it is possible to release with Amuse for free. They do have a pro plan now, which I'm in the process of checking out, but you can still release for free. You want to start getting more serious, so you've released some free stuff. Well, then you can move into a distributor that's a paid distributor. And my favorite is DistroKid. There are heaps out there. There's CD Baby, there's TuneCore, there's different pros and cons. The reason I like DistroKid is it's a yearly flat fee, $20, $19.99 per year, and you can release an unlimited amount of music. They've also got a heap of features. You can use their Hyperfollow feature, which I'm about to cover again next week. You can upload your album artworks. You can add lyrics. If you go to the Musician Plus accounts, you can add multiple different artist names, synced lyrics for Instagram. There's a bunch going on. If you want to learn about DistroKid, if you search my name, Pete Johns DistroKid, or go to studiolivetoday.com/DistroKid, that is going to give you all the information you need. And if you watch my videos before, you'll know that I have an affiliate link. So if you go to studiolivetoday.com/DistroKid, you'll also be able to click the link there and get 7% off your first year if you choose to release with DistroKid. But as I've said before, I don't actually mind where you're sharing or where you're releasing to. That's my recommendations, as long as you're getting it out there. And if you're starting, things like a Facebook group is a good place too. So I run the Create, Record, Release Facebook group, which is a great place to start. If you're a GarageBand user, there's the GarageBand users Facebook group. Just find your tribe, find people that are sharing the same sort of goals, start sharing your stuff, and you'll be good to go. There's a heap more to learn about sharing, which we'll cover in future videos, but I just wanted to throw it out there that if you're on the fence and you're thinking, what should I do? Should I start sharing and releasing my music? The answer is probably yes, because it will improve you, and that's the main thing here. Plus, it feels bloody good. When you can see, I've said it before, you see your name, and then you see like the Foo Fighters, and you're both on Spotify, and you can just go, I'm going to play this Foo Fighters, then I'm going to play my song, and they're right there next to each other. That's pretty cool. Alrighty, let's dive in, shall we, to some of the questions that are coming here during the week. And then if you've got questions and you're here live, I will circle back and answer some of those. So we will pop up on the screen and get cracking. So I've got a question here. I've done a lot of videos about USB MIDI keyboards in recent times, including one about how to use a USB MIDI keyboard in GarageBand iOS. Someone's got a question. I have an M Audio Keystation 88. Will this work? So the question of will this work, it all really comes down to class compliance. If you're talking iPhone or iPad and you want to connect up your MIDI keyboard, your USB microphone, your audio interface, it comes down to class compliance. Class compliance just means it can run in iOS. And the reason it needs to be class compliant is in iOS, you can't install any drivers. So drivers or driver software or whatever you want to call it, that's a bit of software you install on your Mac or your PC, and then when you connect up your USB device, the drivers allow it to be recognized and allow it to use the features that you have on your device. If it's not class compliant and it needs drivers, which is the case for usually older hardware, then you're very out of luck, VOL, because you're not going to be able to connect it to your iPad or iPhone. Still be fine if you want to connect to your Mac or your PC. You'll just need to go to the website of the manufacturer, download the latest drivers, and you'll be good to go. But if you are looking for something that is going to work with your iPhone or iPad, class compliance is the way to go. Now, the challenge is that a lot of manufacturers don't actually say this is class compliant, and they definitely don't say this is not class compliant. So you do have to play a bit of a guessing game. You want to look for things like iPad compatible, iPhone compatible, iOS compatible, driver free, driverless mode. Those are the sort of things that are going to help you know whether the thing you're using can plug in and be used with your thing. So hopefully that helps you and anyone else who's considering connecting up something. I mean, if you have it, just plug it in and find out. And the other thing, that I'm going to say this is, please use a genuine Apple Lightning to USB 3 adapter. I know I'm a broken record, I say this every week, but I still get multiple emails and messages a week from folks saying, I followed your instructions exactly, Pete, exactly. And my thing doesn't work. It just says device uses too much power or this device not supported. And I very meekly ask, are you using a genuine Apple Lightning to USB 3 adapter? And they're like, no, I got it from Amazon and I got it on eBay or whatever it is. And I'm like, there's your problem. And then they'll say, but the one you say is $39. And I say, yes, I know. I don't feel great about paying $39 for a piece of plastic either. But if you want to hook up your stuff and you want it to work, you kind of have to. So there's that. Let's move on to the next question. What is the difference between a USB hub and a USB charging station? So this is a video I put out about a year ago because I was getting a lot of folks confused that when I say use a powered USB hub, as you can see in my thumbnail there, I'm holding up the 10DAC powered USB hub, they would go and get one of those USB charging stations, which doesn't do the job. So YOLO has a question here. Is there a combination of the two? So yes, and this is the reason why I recommend the one that I recommend. And I was going to lift it up here, but it's all plugged in and it's also nice on my desk there for when I use it and I don't want to unplug it. But you can see it's in my hand there. It's the 10DAC powered USB hub. It's called the Crew and the Atola in different parts of the world. You can go to the gear guide and it'll have details of it there. If you go to this website, studiolivetoday.com/gear, you can check out all of my recommendations, including this particular powered hub. The reason I like it is it has 4 ports for data and power and then 1 charging only port. So that's really important. Important port. That's important because you can then plug in your stuff and plug in all your audio interface, plug in your MIDI keyboards, plug in your USB mouse and USB keyboard, and then you can also plug into your Lightning to USB 3 adapter and then plug the power of the Lightning into the hub as well. Don't plug your power back into another port of the hub. That creates a really nasty circle of power and data, and it can cause some damage. So make sure that when you just want to power a device, just use a power port. So either use one of the charging stations or use the dedicated power port on your 10-DAC powered hub. And if you want to send data, like in the case of attaching MIDI keyboards and USB interfaces, use the data ports. But yeah, don't grab one that's just a charger and then try and connect it up to your iPad or your iPhone. It's not designed to send data. It just won't work. Do you say data or data or data? So many different ways. English language, weird, right? Data, data, data. That's, yeah, anyway, getting distracted. Now, I do a lot of screen recording on my iPhone and iPad, and it's handy for a lot of things, obviously for making tutorials here on the channel, for doing screen recordings of my GarageBand projects, if you're sharing those. I know Gary Hubbs, if you watched yesterday's Your Music Live, he shared one of his songs where he used the screen recorder on his iPhone to actually do a very creative little video for his song, which is always very cool. Question here from Miguel is, do you record mic voiceover directly when the iPad screen record, or do you record on a separate recorder and sync them in post editing? So, yes, we'll go behind the scenes and behind the curtain and under the table and wherever else. Yeah, I do. I do most of my audio. I record separately and then I sync it up at the end. Early on, if you go back to some of my earlier tutorials, I literally used just the screen recorder. So I would plug in my headphones, I'd plug in a pair of Apple Dirty Buds or whatever I had lying around into my iPhone. I would bring up the screen recorder, I'd record the sound of the audio playing through GarageBand, and I'd record my own voice just through the headset mic. And that's why my early videos sound like crap. They don't sound that bad. They were okay for the time. But basically, as soon as I got myself set up with a nice mixer and OBS software, I've just changed everything. So now what I can do is I can record from my webcam. I can record my face. If I want to put it in the corner, I can record high quality audio through my Zoom Live Track mixer. And I'm just basically sitting here, and then I'll have this set up with the screen recording. So nowadays, when I'm doing any sort of screen recording stuff, I will record the screen, and then what I'll do is I'll record the audio, but that way it'll record my voice just going straight in through the microphone of the iPhone or the iPad, and then I'll record my voice here. I'll bring them into LumaFusion, line them up, and then use the better quality audio and mute out the original audio. And what I can also do is, if I'm sending the audio, I'll send that through another channel on my mixer, so I'm also getting high quality audio, and I can balance it on the fly. Because you can then mix the audio from here and the audio from here afterwards, but I find I want things quicker, and I find if I balance it through my mixer at the time, I don't have to spend a lot of time afterwards balancing audio. I can do it on the fly. That's the benefit of a mixer, even when you're doing pre-recorded stuff. So at the moment, I'm doing these Audio, and I did the Cubasis series. I'll sit here, I'll plug everything through my mixer, I'll screen record, I'll record in OBS, bring them together, and then go. In fact, what I'm going to do soon is, and I did in the past, over on Patreon, I shared a bunch of information about sort of behind the scenes, how I actually make the tutorials here on Studio Live today. So if you're interested in that, if you are a patron, only $1 per month, you can join the Patreon community, then yeah, you'll be able to see some behind the scenes stuff and a little bit more about how I actually go about creating the tutorials here. One moment, please. My apologies. I just needed a cough and didn't want to do it into the microphone. Coughing in a microphone, not fun. One more question, and then we'll jump over and see if anyone live has a question. This was about recording vocals in GarageBand, iOS. Where can I find or buy that powered USB hub? I think I answered this in the last question. There you go, studiolivetoday.com/gear. Look for, again, 10DAC or Crew or Atola. They all look the same. They all work the same. And that's what I've been using for over a year now. But yeah, you can get really bad ones. You can get really good ones. The 10DAC one is the one right in the middle. And the reason I use it is that it's just reliable. You plug it in, you turn it on, and it just works. And it has been working for me for some time. All right, let's have a quick coffee break, and then we'll see what folks have to say here in the live chat. I like Tom Rochelle here. We're spoiled to be able to release music independent of greedy record labels and expensive distributors. What a time for independent musicians. Agree. 100%. And this is the thing, I'm watching, we're almost at the end of it. My wife and I are watching a show on YouTube. If you're a YouTube premium subscriber, you'll be able to watch it. It's called The Boy Band Con, and it's super interesting. Talk about, releasing music and sort of what the record industry was like back in the 90s and 2000s, early 2000s. Yeah, really sort of heinous stuff. So this was all about the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC and Lou Pearlman, who was a big sort of promoter at the time. So what they would basically do back then is they would manufacture these bands, they'd pull these guys out, they would give them free dinners, they'd give them free travel, they'd give them free dance lessons, they'd make them into what they are. They'd create the band, and then they'd go on tour, and then they'd make millions and sell millions of records and make lots and lots of money. But the contracts were so weighted towards the promoter that they would get virtually nothing. Like they were talking, and they said they got their first check after like a year of this grueling hard work, and it was $10,000. So yeah, the whole getting a record deal, and to this day, so many people say to me, "Oh, Pete, I want to make music so that I can get a record deal." And I'm like, you probably don't want a record deal. I'm not a lawyer. I'm definitely not an entertainment lawyer or accountant or anything like that. But from what I've heard from people who have been dabbling in any sort of dealings with record companies, you got to understand that they're not going to pay you unless you are a massive success. And even then, they can't pay you much because they got to pay for all the other non-successes. Like, think about it. It's literally like a stable. They're like horse trainers. They go out and a horse trainer will go in and they'll buy horses. And they might buy 50 horses over like 50 years. And if one of them is good, then that one has to be so good that it pays for the other 49. It's the same with record labels. The reason they don't pay artists enough is that they have to go out there and roll the dice on 10 different artists and just hope like heck that one of those actually becomes famous. So yeah, you are at best case scenario going to be making the peanuts because you're the successful one. Worst case scenario, you're going to be tens, if not hundreds of $1,000s in debt to the record label because they've given you all of these advances. They've made your album, they've paid for all your touring and all your expenses, and then you're in the hole for like 50 grand to pay them back, and you haven't made any more success than you would have if you released your own music independently. So yes, that was a mini rant about the record industry. But yeah, like anything, just be careful. If it's too good to be true, it probably is. If it looks like crap and smells like crap, it's probably crap. Anyway. Questions. We have some questions coming through. Question from Metallion. Can you post songs on SoundCloud and then release them grouped as an EP through DistroKid? So yes, you can. So it's a good question actually, because I'll talk about a couple of concepts here. So yes, say you've put songs up. So this is what I did with my album recently. Back when I did my album called Selfish Aware, is that I uploaded them all to SoundCloud, put them into a playlist on SoundCloud, and then I'd listen to them and I'd shuffle them around in the order and I'd work out what my order of my final album was going to be. When you're then going to release them though, you can't do anything with the actual SoundCloud releases, but you then need to grab the original WAV files and upload those through DistroKid. So there's kind of no way to connect the two. But yeah, if you're asking, can you like post your songs? Is there any issue releasing them to DistroKid if you've already put them on SoundCloud or already put them on YouTube? No, there's no problem. Neither SoundCloud nor YouTube actually copyrights your song or restricts you from distributing it using any other method. There are some that do, which should probably be on the scope of this, but if you wanted me to talk more about that, that's the YouTube Content ID. So I've got videos about that. If you search my name and then YouTube Content or YouTube Copyright, I've done a heap of videos about how to manage Content ID or copyright with YouTube. But that's only if you release through a distributor like a Muse or CD Baby or DistroKid and select specifically to release to YouTube and to use the YouTube Money or the YouTube Content ID system. That means that you upload it, and then if anyone else uses your song, including you, in a video on YouTube, then it gets a copyright claim, and any revenue made from that goes back to the original artist. So I was talking about that yesterday. If you watched Your Music Live, like a 2-hour show I do most weeks. I didn't do it last week, but I don't actually get any of the, you'd probably know that the way that YouTube is monetized is that advertisers pay Google, who own YouTube, and then YouTube then put those ads on videos like mine, and then I get a cut of the advertising revenue, 30%, if you want to know, of the advertising revenue comes back to the creator. So advertiser YouTube creator. If a creator like me uses someone else's music or someone else's video in their creation, then a copyright claim will get put on that. And then that revenue, any revenue generated from that advertising on that video, then goes back to the original artist via their distributor. So hopefully that makes a lot of sense. Righty dokie, we will, I think I saw another question here. Scrolling on down. Hello, Jeff Brush, who is just joining us here. I thought I saw a question up higher. Hold the line, please. Yes, we did. Amarasea, hello to you. Is it cool if I do a Songtember but release the song through a Muse so it doesn't technically get out there till October or later? Yeah, absolutely. So if you're wondering what Songtember is all about, in what are we, 14 days, 14 days till September. So in September we do a Songtember challenge here on the channel, where we, from the 1st of September through to the 30th, we kick off a challenge where everyone can join me. I'm going to record a song. I'm going to write and record and release a song all in the month of September. The question here is, if you're using a Muse or if you're using a service that's not going to get it released in time to be in September, that's fine. Just post it on YouTube or SoundCloud on the 30th of September and then release it officially. Like, there's no rules or requirements or anything, because basically nothing's on offer anyway. I don't have any prizes or anything for anyone, because I don't like music being a competition. If you ever wondered why Pete doesn't do sort of competitions and contests and mixing contests and giveaways and things, it's because I don't like the concept of music becoming a competition where there's a first, second, third place and someone's a winner and someone's a loser, because I don't think it works that way. I know we've manufactured music to be that way, but that wasn't ever the way. Back in the day, we didn't create music to have freaking idol shows and You've Got Talent shows and voices and masked singers and all this crap. Anyway, I'm going to go off on a random rant if I get too involved in that. Did we have any other questions? I think I had a question here, yes, from Love Buzz the Band. I'm thinking about buying electric drums so that I'll be able to play drums on GarageBand instead of just with my MIDI keyboard. Do you know if that actually works? It does, and it's cool. So I've had a set of electric drums, E-drums, for over a year now, and I've been threatening to make a video about them for over a year, and I just haven't done it. The main reason is they're not in this room. They're upstairs. There's not enough room in here to actually bring them in and have them set up. So I have to go and record upstairs. And you think that'd be pretty simple, Pete? You're a mobile creator. As if you can't get your iPhone and like a decent mic and hook it all up and record a video up in your room upstairs. But I just haven't got around to it. I know. Maybe I play the drums for my Songtember song, and that would be a good opportunity to actually hook up some drums and play them. Or maybe I should do it as part of my my current series on different apps. Maybe I check out some drumming apps and do that. But yes, they work exactly the same as a MIDI controller, as a MIDI keyboard. They'll just assign you different drums. Now, GarageBand's not wonderful in terms of you can't reassign them. So all the assigning of the drums has to be at the drum kit end. GarageBand won't let you, say, take a particular drum and then map it back to a particular key or a particular hit on your drum kit. But in my experience, I know Jade Starr's used it a lot too, in my experience, it works pretty well. It'll map your kick to your kick, your snare to your snare. It's just some of those more interesting cowbells and splash cymbals and things that it might not map exactly as you'd think they would, because every kit is slightly different. But for your basic stuff, it'll work like a charm. Righty. Gary Hubbs, talking about music, said that the therapeutic effect when sharing music, once it's out there, and we are spoiled for the community we have. I agree. And it's another point I probably wanted to make, and I'll make it now just because you've brought it up. When you release something, the question I get more than anything about releasing is not about the actual releasing initial process. It is from people who want to change their release. They've put their release out there and they want to edit the audio. They've put their release out there and they want to bring it back down and change their artist name and then re-release it. They've put their release out there and then they want to update the title of the album artwork or the metadata. What I say to that is, before you release, have a think, make sure that you're completely comfortable, you've listened to the audio, and you basically need to say to yourself, this is a snapshot in time of my musical journey. I am now releasing this. I'm going to bless it and put it out into the world without getting all sort of deep and stuff. You need to have an end date and you need to let it go. And the beautiful thing is that music is kind of infinite. So you don't have to worry that, oh no, this is my one shot. I've said it before. It's not, Eminem wasn't right. You don't only got one shot, right? You've got multiple retries. Like I said, you've got infinite credits. You can hit that replay button again and again. But what a lot of people do is that they get caught up in the, oh no, I released it and it wasn't the perfect sound, or oh no, I released it and I meant to submit it to playlists and now I didn't. So now I'm going to pull it down. I'm going to change my name. I'm going to change the ending, and then I'm going to re-release that same song again. Let it go. That's the one bit of advice I can give you, is let it go. It is not your one chance. It is not the one song. And in fact, if you spend that time and energy creating a new song, learning from the things from your last song, is going to be a much better use of your time. You have much more likelihood of being successful than trying to rehash the same thing. Stop polishing that turd, let it be a turd, and move on to your next, hopefully less turd-like creation. Plus, the stores are 100% cracking down on that now. So Spotify in particular, but also Apple, they see what people are doing. They know that people are just trying to get on playlists. So they're releasing, pulling down, releasing, pulling down. They've just cut it off. Even when you have legitimate reasons, so I had a little pop at the start of the audio of one of my songs. I had to be really careful how to pull it down and then re-release it, because if you do it in the wrong way, in the wrong order, they're like, no, you're trying to benefit from this. You're trying to re-release this because it failed the first time and you didn't get on that playlist. So yeah, keep that in mind. But thank you. See what a rant you can inspire just with a simple comment? Cold coffee. We'll check if we've got any more questions here live, and then we'll get back to the pre-questions that we had here. I'll just see. No, I think we're good. Oh, no, we do have one more. So Lando, how can I release the same song under a different artist name on DistroKid? Can I change it a bit? This answer would really help. I think I probably just ranted on that to say, unless you have a really good reason to do so, don't. If you really have to, so say you just the artist name you chose is the same as like 5 other artists, and you really want to kind of hit reset and start again. What you need to do is, you can't actually delete your artist name with DistroKid. I'm not sure if you can do it with others. You have to remove all your music, wait a while, because it can take a couple of weeks to get out to all the stores. Remember, DistroKid don't have this direct access to all the stores. They just send the request off to all the stores, and then the stores have to remove it and then send it back to DistroKid and say, yeah, we've removed it. So you'll need to do that first. Remove any songs that are under that artist name, and then ask DistroKid very nicely if they can reset so that you can change your artist name, or upgrade to the Musician Plus to add a second artist, and then re-upload and re-release. But you're not going to be able to release it using the same stuff. So if you've got any views or any plays, that won't work. And it in my experience, unless you've got a really good reason to do it, I'd suggest not. Because it gets really complicated and it doesn't really help. I would put all that energy that you would spend with all the admin into creating another song, and then use your new artist name for a new song if you want to. That's my take on it anyway. But thanks for the question. I'm not saying that to be harsh or to be critical, because I get the question so often that obviously a lot of people are wanting to do it for some reason, but I would just steer clear of it if you possibly can. Please do the drum video. Yeah, I should definitely do the drum video. Absolutely. And before you release, just think twice, right? So I'm not saying don't release, but definitely have a think about it before you get your stuff out there. Thank you to Bubba. Whoops, I've missed the wrong. I'll answer that question in a minute. Thank you to Bubba. I've been away. My little town looks like a war zone. Oh, after 100-mile-per-hour winds last Monday. No power for 4 days. You never know the taste of water till the well runs dry. Hope you're well. Yeah, and I hope anyone who was impacted by the severe weather that we've been having. I know there's so much stuff going on in the world that if every show I said, I hope everyone here is all right for this reason, hope everyone here is all right for this reason, here's all right, I'm just going to say, stay safe, look after yourself and others, and do the best you can at the moment. That's all we can really do. But Bubba, thank you so much, and thank you for the kind donation. There was an ad here in Australia that was, thank you very much for your kind donation, and it was about giving chocolates to people. So you've given me the gift of virtual chocolates, which I'll probably actually spend buying a 6-pack for the happy hour. But that's okay. You're helping the channel, and I do appreciate all of your help. Now, I did click this one up here before. So, opinion on releasing your music on your own via YouTube Bandcamp versus a distribution company. Yeah, that's a good question. Just one second. Sorry, before I answered, I needed to clear my throat. Really good question. So, yeah, you can go super duper independent and release through something like Bandcamp. So if you're not familiar with Bandcamp, what that does is you upload it directly, and then you have more control. You set the price, you set what people can pay. You can set it as free, you can set it as name your price, which Radiohead famously did back in the day with one of their albums. And it just gives you a bit more control. The advantage is, again, that you get the control, that you can have complete control over your music. You can pull it down and put it back up because it's a direct relationship between you and Bandcamp. The negatives these days with Bandcamp, it does have a streaming service, but most people just want to get your music on Spotify or Apple Music, or that if they're going to buy it, they want to buy it in a platform that they already use, so something like iTunes or Amazon. So in my experience, people aren't super keen on going to a separate website and downloading from there and going through a different payment platform. They just want to use what they have. In terms of the payments and what you get, it's still 70/30. So it's about the same as what you get if you sold it on iTunes anyway. So you're still paying for the platform. So there's no real benefit there. Look, it's good, and you can do it concurrently too. So you can put it on Bandcamp first, maybe, and then as an exclusive thing, if you've got fans, and you can get people to support you by buying your album, and then maybe you release it using a distributor afterwards. That's probably the route I would go down, because the reason that distributors are good is it just puts it out everywhere. So for me, if I had to say, if you want to listen to my music, you've got to go to bandcamp.com/PeteJohns, and then you can download my songs, and you can choose what to pay for them. Or what I do is I just say, just search Pete Johns in your favorite streaming platform. So whether you're using Deezer or Spotify or Apple Music or Google Play or YouTube, it's going to be everywhere. Just search the name and you'll find it everywhere. Or use a cool service like songwhip.com, which can link to your songs. So yeah, hopefully that helps you out. Righty dokie. Let's continue on. All right, we'll bring up the questions here that we've had during the week, and we'll answer a few more, shall we? Because we're okay for time. So I like to talk about all the different cable types, and I've done a bunch of videos about, XLR versus TRS versus high Z or high Z, TS, TRS, TRRS. And we've got a question here from Zeminski. It says, so I guess the UR12 doesn't have a balanced input for monitor connection, right? Right. Yeah. So a balanced output. I just happen to have my Focusrite Scarlett 2i2 sitting here because I was showing my friend Clint yesterday that I was trying to show him where the other end it has a headphone jack snapped off and lodged in there, because Clint's a very handy dude. Clint's the guy that put this lighting up here. He's created cables for me before so that I can use my portable battery with my powered hub. He's a bit of a guru. So I've said to him, next time you're around, I've got one stuck in here, and I got one stuck in my mixer too. Yes, I've snapped off 2 separate 1/4-inch jacks. Here's a lesson for you folks. Don't buy those cheap $2 adapters for your 3.5mm connections. Buy yourself something decent quality, because they do snap off. So the one I use now is this giant one. It's like, this one's not going to snap off. What was my point? It was these monitor outputs. So you can see here on the Focusrite Scarlett 2i2, we got these two, which are TRS, 1/4-inch TRS outputs. These are balanced, which means you can use balanced TRS cables to go out from this and into your monitor speakers or other devices. So for me, I'm set up here. I've got my Steinberg UR22C, which is what I plug my iPad or my iPhone into. That's got balanced outputs that go into a balanced stereo input on my mixer, and that means when I'm doing things, when I'm doing live shows or when I'm recording tutorials, I get high quality stereo audio going out of there into there, and everything's good. What you're talking about here is the Steinberg UR12, which I also have and have used and love. The difference though is that just has RCA outputs. So that has the red and white unbalanced RCA outputs. So there's nothing wrong with those, but it just means that they're more susceptible to some noise and some interference. So it's not that you'll get better, like people use this concept of better quality audio, and like, what does that mean? Well, it's not really better. Like, it's not sending a different sound. It's not enhancing your sound in any way, but it's more protecting your sound. It's shielding your sound, because a balanced cable uses 2 copies of the signal. One of them flips around at the end. It just means that it can reject a lot of that external interference and noise. So if you're on the fence, is it going to make a massive difference? Probably not. If you could upgrade to a UR22 instead of the UR12 and get the balanced output, then do it. But yeah, for most folks, especially if you're primarily using headphones, you're going to get zero benefit from it with your headphone, because they both use the same 1/4-inch stereo headphone jack. Hopefully that helps. Moving right along. Question here. So at the moment, I'm doing doing a series on Auria Pro. I've just finished a series on Cubasis 3, and these are, throughout August, what I'm doing is sitting down and trying out some things, getting out of my comfort zone. I've been trying out different digital audio workstations on the iPad and working out what they do. They do more things than GarageBand, but do they do things better, worse? Do they have more features? Will I use those features? So I'm doing this because I get asked about these all the time, and instead of now saying, I don't know, I've never used them, I only use GarageBand, that seemed like a bit of a lame answer. So I thought, to help folks, so before you shell out your $50 and you go and buy the big Auria Pro or Cubasis 3 software, I'll take one for the team, I'll try it out. In terms of this question, am I liking Auria or Cubasis 3 better? It's a bit unfair because I'm only 3 episodes into the Auria Pro. I haven't recorded vocals or guitars yet, and I haven't done a heap with the mixing on it yet. Here's my view though. Auria Pro is super, super powerful and has a heap of options, and that is a little overwhelming. So its fault or its flaw is that it does everything, and in order to do everything and to emulate a desktop tool, it's Pro Tools. It's Pro Tools for iPad. Jade Starr says this all the time. She's like, it's just Pro Tools. They've just lifted and shifted all the Pro Tools functionality. So if you've used Pro Tools a lot and you're very comfortable with a desktop DAW and you know kind of what you're doing already, you're going to have a blast. Because I've been using mobile DAWs for so long, which work a little differently, I'm having to readapt using Auria Pro. So it's not fair for me to say, I don't like it, I don't like the interface because I don't know how to use it, but it's definitely less intuitive than GarageBand and even Cubasis 3. I picked up the flow with Cubasis 3 within about 2 days. I'm 2 days into Auria Pro and I'm still fumbling around a bit. But I'm going to do it that way. I'm going to make these videos a bit fumbly because you need to know what it's like when you first start out. And a lot of folks have said, respect, Pete. I like that you did that, because if you just went away and learnt it all and came back and just sort of delivered it all and made us all feel bad because we don't understand, then that's not going to work. So I'm like, nope, I'm doing it. I'm going in. I haven't read the manual. I'm just trying it. I'm fiddling until I get it to work. Probably doing things wrong, but that's all part of it. So, righty. Continuing on. A few more questions to go. Question here. Yesterday I bought the M Audio 49 Mark III, as mentioned by me. The keyboard is fantastic, fully made in USA. I got the software Pro Tools first. Seriously, nothing I have understood how to use that software, as I'm a GarageBand user like Pete. So I realised this isn't a question. I think I got the wrong one in here. It sounds like I'm just trying to big note myself and say that I recommended something. But if you too... If you too want to get the M Audio Keystation Mark III, it is my preferred keyboard of choice. It is very cool. You can go down there, studiolivetoday.com/gear, if you want to check out all of my recommendations. And as we mentioned at the very start of the show, that one is a class compliant device. So you'll be good in the hood if you want to use it with your iPhone or your iPad. Question here, Pete, can GarageBand on iPad produce a music score showing musical notes? I've created a song and I want to print out the music sheet to play. I might have my piano player to play. No. Short answer is no, and I'm yet to find out if Auria Pro or if Cubasis actually do that either. If either of them do it, that's going to be a bit of a killer feature, because a lot of folks have actually asked me for that. They've said, is there a way for me to do that, to print out a musical score? There are other apps that can do it, and there's apps that you can export MIDI. So I guess something like Cubasis or Auria, where you can export the MIDI and then import that into another app, that would allow you to actually do that. But as far as GarageBand goes, alas, we do not have that functionality. Alrighty, moving right along. So question here, how to connect a USB audio interface. Focusrite 2i2, does it matter if it's the 2nd gen or the 3rd? No, it doesn't. So both Focusrite and Steinberg and others, I'm sure, have released their new 3rd generation or USB-C audio interfaces. Now, this one is the old 2nd, might even be a 1st gen, this one. So this is the Focusrite Scarlett 2i2. If I bring that up a bit, this is the Focusrite Scarlett 2i2. It is the 1st or 2nd gen, whatever it is, and they've now released a USB-C version. So you can see this one has the USB A to B connector on the back there. The version that they've now released, the 3rd gen, is USB-C. Just means that if you've got a USB-C port or you're using an iPad Pro, you can plug it in direct, which is what my Steinberg UR22C can do. Does it matter? Does it make a difference? Is it going to matter for most people? No. There's no real improvement to quality. The bit rate, the sampling rate, the preamps, the outputs are all pretty much the same. The Focusrite Scarlett 2i2 3rd Gen has an air knob or something like that is supposed to enhance your sound when you're recording. That's about it. It doesn't really do anything else outside of that. So yeah, my read on this is if you've got a 2nd gen, don't rush out and get a 3rd gen. If you've got the budget, you might as well buy it because it's USB-C. It'll be future-proof. You won't have to worry about adapters and things in the future, and you can still use it with a USB-A cable. So you can just use a USB-C to A. In fact, they come with a USB-C to A. So they assume that you're still going to be plugging it into a USB-A port, but it just has the USB-C option for future convenience. And that is just, that is the one that we did at the start. If you weren't here at the start of the show, this is a question I suppose it is a question. I said, what's your favorite weekly live show on the channel? And GarageBand Weekly, winning by a mile, 56% of folks. So if Pete's going to continue to do live shows, clearly GarageBand Weekly is one that we need to keep in the stable of live shows. And basket weaving tonight, not getting a whole lot of love. A whole lot of love? No, don't want to get a copyright strike on this one. I'll save that for later when we're doing the happy hour, which we'll talk about in just a moment. But we've got a few more questions from the folks live, and then we'll continue and we'll probably finish off because we are nearly at the end of the show. Question here from Solrak. Is there a difference in quality when you record GarageBand iOS and Cubase's 3, and how much is it? Also from iOS Mac GarageBand, any difference? From iOS to Mac GarageBand, any difference? So short answer is no. I've answered these questions before, but basically it all comes down to the gear that you're using to record. So it's recording ones and zeros. It's not actually going to make much of a difference. The signal may be processed once it hits the DAW slightly differently, but that's more about the plugins that you're adding. A clean recording in GarageBand and a clean recording in Cubasis or Audio Pro should, and the same with GarageBand on a Mac, it should sound exactly the same. If you are hooking up, so again, I keep coming back to this, but a Focusrite Scarlett 2i2 or a Steinberg UR22, what you're probably doing, your audio in your software, if it's set at 44 kilohertz, a 44.1 kilohertz and a 24-bit sampling rate, regardless of what device you're using to interpret that, it's just interpreting the digital signal. So your audio interface is doing all of the analog to digital conversion. So all of the audio that's coming in here through your microphone is then being sent out via the USB as ones and zeros, as a digital signal. So that means whatever it's hitting at the other end is kind of irrelevant. It's then what processing you put on it. So the reason that you'd say, well, why wouldn't everyone use GarageBand then? Well, it's because things like Pro Tools or Logic have a bunch of other processing options. So you can put your channel strip on there. You've got your Fab Filter EQs. You've got your Waves plugins. You can start really enhancing your sound. But if you were just recording 100% clean, most of the time, you'll find that regardless of the software, it's all about the quality going in. Now, that wasn't always the case because something like GarageBand, it used to only have 16-bit audio. So there was an actual difference. So if you recorded with GarageBand on Mac, you could make it 44.1 kilohertz 24-bit. On an iPad, was only 16-bit. And that was the same for everything. That wasn't a limitation of the software. Cubasis or Auria, they were also 16-bit because that's all that the iPad had. Now, the only difference there is that you can get a higher sampling rate. So, for instance, the Steinberg UR22C goes up to a 192 kilohertz sampling rate. Now, I don't use that because CD quality is 44.1, video quality, DVD quality is 48 kilohertz. They're the two that most folks record at. You can record at 96 kilohertz and you can record at 192 kilohertz. It will double and then quadruple your file size. So that ain't good because you're going to use up a whole bunch more disk space. Careful how you say that, Pete. Disk space. And the other problem is that, once you've done that, you're not going to hear the difference, or most people aren't going to hear the difference between 4496 and 192 unless you are super audiophile and you have super audiophile ears, which I don't. So hopefully that helps you out with that one. Question here from Barry says, if I was to mix a song and make my vocals sound good, what DAW should I choose between Auria or Cubasis to get a good vocal sound? Answer is probably the same as the last question. If it's digital audio, it's more about what plugins you use and how you use them, and the quality of the audio going in is more important than the piece of software you use to put your plugins on. So for a good quality vocal sound, whether you're using GarageBand, Cubase, or Audio Pro, it really doesn't matter because you can add any audio unit plugin to any one of those three doors and basically get exactly the same sound out of the other end. Question, of the other doors, do any of them handle AU compatible apps better than GarageBand? In my experience, which is limited, the answer is no. Any insight, Pete? So far, no, Bubba. So Audio Pro, I had issues with a couple of the inter-app audios and the audio unit plugins sort of freezing up, not displaying quite properly, and then crashing. Cubase's 3, I didn't actually have any problems with. So apart from GarageBand, Cubase seemed a little more stable, a little more compatible, and it was easier because it had separate sections there for your inter-app audio and your audio unit. It seemed a little bit more intuitive to add them in. None of them seem to do any better than GarageBand. So, yeah, the issues I've had, and I haven't had that many issues in GarageBand because, to be honest, I don't use that many audio units or inter-app audio plugins. So the jury's still out on that. Towards the end of the series, I'm going to come back and sort of talk through the pros and cons and otherwise and why you would choose one over the other. But yeah, it really is. What I'm learning out of this is that there isn't really no good, better, best, and it's not even sort of like small, medium, large. It's what's your workflow and what do you need? What's going to work for your workflow? And it's becoming pretty clear that GarageBand works for my workflow 90% of the time. Now, for the 10% where it doesn't, will it be good to have another bit of software? Absolutely. And that's what I will be checking out. Alrighty, I'll see if we got any final questions, and then we're going to finish off here. One more question here from Russ. Says, could you plug a non-USB mixer into the Focusrite to give your stereo USB to your iPad has a Focusrite stereo input? And question, could you plug a non-USB mixer, into the Focusrite, give your stereo USB to your iPad? Yeah, so you can. So say you had a Focusrite Scarlett 2i2 and you've got like a big old Fostech 16-track mixer. All you need to do is take the stereo outs, so the TRS outs from your analog mixer, put them into the stereo in of a digital interface, and then hook that up via USB, and yeah, you got that. Now, you'll only get stereo. You're not going to get all 16 tracks of your analog mixer, but you can mix those 16 tracks down, and then, input it into here. So, I think that's fine. In fact, there's a little device that you can use. It's not a balanced signal; it's unbalanced. But the Behringer makes something called the UCA 222. I think. Let's see if we can find it here. We've got a little bit of time, do we? Yeah, we've got 6 minutes. Let's see if we can find this one. No, I won't go to Amazon.com.au because that doesn't work. But I have one of these devices. I'd probably find it quicker if I just actually went to my drawer and pulled it out. Behringer UCA. Here they are. So if we come over here, there's a couple of options that you have. We have these two. So you have the U-Control, UCA 222, and the UCA 202. Now, they used to be cheaper than this. $84 is pretty pricey. You almost might as well get yourself a proper two-channel interface at that price. But these are handy because they're a USB control at one end, and then they've got RCA in and RCA out. So if we flick around here, it's the same picture over and over again. There it is. So it's got a headphone jack, and then it's got two RCA inputs and two RCA outputs. So it basically allows you to hook up any analog gear, connect it via USB, or if you're using the adapter to your iPhone or iPad, and then, you're good to go. So, yeah, there it is, that little red one. And it's red, so it goes faster. We know that. But, yeah, that's another way if you're using something like that. So hopefully that helps you out. And, no, thank you to you, Bubba. Reaffirm my suspicions. Yeah, so there's really not a heap of difference, again. It really all just comes down to workflow. I know so many people will want to tell me that, no, it's different, and I hear the difference. And if you hear the difference, great. That's the thing. A lot of people want to engage me in comments and engage me when they email me or they contact me because they think that I'm going to just get on my soapbox and start defending GarageBand like within an inch of my life. And I'm simply not going to do it because whatever you're using, if it's working for you, great. That's why I've never understood the Mac versus PC debate or the Android versus iOS debate. People are like, can't believe you use an iOS device. Android's so much more flexible and so much easier and so much cheaper. And I'm like, Okay, I don't really know what you want me to say to that. I prefer iOS and I choose to use it, and I'm using my money, so thanks. It, I don't understand the argument. You can be passionate about things. I'm passionate about a heap of things, but there's more important things to be passionate about than what particular flavor of thing people choose. Like Coke versus Pepsi, couldn't care less. Drink Pepsi till the cows come home. I'm a Coke drinker. Drink your Pepsi. It's fine. So yeah, I'll get off my high horse and stop ranting about that one. Let's continue on. Let's continue on by finishing because we are at the end of time. So what's coming up here on the channel in the next couple of days? Well, we of course have GarageBand Weekly tomorrow. If you're watching this one live or on the replay here, that is happening Monday morning for me. It'll be Sunday afternoon or evening for you, depending where you are in the world. And then later today, before all that, I have the happy hour, which is actually the hungry hour this week. So I'll be doing all food related songs. So that will be kicking off in right around 4 hours time. Before that though, Jade Star is doing a live performance today as well. So if you haven't checked out Jade's channel, head over and just search Jade Star with 2 R's, Jade Starr, and you can check out her live performance. She's also doing her How to App series, which is awesome. That's working really, really well. Yes, and there, Jade's put this in the comments here. Yes, we're doing a weekend jam show. So definitely go and check that one out and then hang around. So that one will be in 2 hours time. Jade will play. If you encourage her and you keep chatting to her, she'll probably play for the whole 2 hours because I know that once Jade gets started, she's got some energy. So go over and watch Jade and get her to play for 2 hours. And then when she finishes up, we'll kick into the happy hour or the hungry hour as it is today. What can you do to get in touch? Well, of course, you can head over to studiolivetoday.com. There you'll find links to the gear guide I've talked about a bunch in this video, all of my FAQs. You can check out the YouTube channel. You can find me on Facebook. And if you want to go the next level and join our little community over on Patreon, you can go ahead and do that, patreon.com/Pete Johns. That is going to do it for now. I'm going to go have some breakfast and finish up. But thanks for joining me here on Home Studio Q&A, and I'll see you next time. Take care of yourselves and of others. Stay safe.